guys, welcome back to That Girl Radio, your weekly supplement to help you design your best life. And for today's episode, we are going to be talking about what it feels like to be close. What it feels like to be close to being on the brink of unearthing something that is just so phenomenal within inside you. You're so close to finishing something that you've been trying to accomplish all year. You're so close to getting to finally being in a relationship. You're just close. Everything is like on the brink of either being made or being broken. And this is a very scary place to be in. It's a very uncomfortable place to be in. And I wanted to introduce something new to the podcast, which is a song for the week that is applicable to whatever it is that we're talking about. And I feel like Marvin Sapp's song called Close is the perfect song for this week. The lyrics just really speak to the circumstances of someone that is close to their overflow, that's close to a victory, and you just feel like there's so many trials and tribulations that you are having to experience in light of you crossing this finish line. And I'm going to read off some of the lyrics because I know somebody needs to hear this, and hopefully after today's episode you actually do listen to this song and you find comfort and joy in the peace of the melodies, because when I tell you, when my song shuffled and played this from my gospel playlist this past week, I just was overwhelmed with tears of joy because I was reminded that I must be close to my destiny. He says, extremely close to my victory, because here comes trials and troubles, jealousy and envy. I must be close to what you have for me. I must be close to my overflow, extremely close to my miracle, because here comes confusion, problems, and enemies. I just believe that I must be close to what you have for me. The first verse goes, to whom much is given, so much is required. The qualified must go through the fire. But I won't smell like smoke. I'll be better than before. His guidance is in my life just to let me know that I must be close to my destiny. Extremely close to my victory, because here comes trials and troubles and jealousy and envy. I must be close to my overflow, extremely close to my miracle, because here comes confusion and problems and enemies, and I just believe that I am close to what you have for me. And I won't go too much into more of the song because he's really just saying the same thing over and over again. But just find peace and comfort in those melodies throughout this week for those of you who feel like you are close to unearthing something that is within yourself. For those of you who feel like you are so close to fulfilling your purpose, to fulfilling, the climax of this chapter of your life. And that's one thing that I want all of us to remember, is that life is truly chapters. My chapter that I'm in right now is 21. And I have a new chapter that I'm going to be opening in 22. But I feel like the best stories that we read, right? The writers don't just sit down and write a chapter. They plan ahead of time. They know what is coming next because they prepared for it. And sometimes you don't know what's going to happen at the end of the chapter. But just knowing that there is a new chapter that you are going to be able to embark on, that there's going to be a new bridge, there's going to be a new climax, there's going to be new characters, new locations, new environments, new love, new everything, is something that you should be willing and happy to look forward to. So just know that even though you are close to something, even if it doesn't come to fruition in this chapter, God has so much more that he wants to work on, not only with you, but on you. There's a lot of things that he's developing, and he's just cooking right now. He's cooking up your story, and you just have to let the characters play their roles. You have to let your work play its role. You have to let life play its role. And sometimes it's going to be uncomfortable, but if you think of your life story as like a Shonda Rhimes plot, you know that at any point anything could happen. Anything could go wrong at any certain point, but in the end, it's such a beautiful life story that can be told. And I think once you relinquish control and trying to be the writer of your story and realize that God already, he already wrote it down before you were even given a name. Once you get rid of that anxiety that you have over like, oh, what is the result going to be? What is the outcome going to be? I feel like you can just have so much more peace. And I'm filming today's episode, and it is a Friday night. It's 8:57 p.m. And who I was at the beginning of the semester is not who I am today. Who I am now as a fourth year, about to graduate from The Ohio State University with a bachelor's in marketing, or really a bachelor's in business administration. I'm not who I was when I entered this college. I am really close to being on the brink of discovering who I really am, and it's uncomfortable. And I touched a little bit on this last episode. If you did not catch it, please do, because the way you guys have been DMing me and just messaging me and saying that you feel so seen from my words and my experiences, and that you feel like you're not alone anymore because you didn't know that you could feel that way, just makes me feel good, because it's very scary to be vulnerable and get a microphone and, digital footprints are real, and talk about my struggles and the things that I'm having happen to me and share it with thousands of people around the world. But I realize that my experiences are not just mine alone. I go through things because I am supposed to use this platform as a way to share my testimony, and my victories and my failures are somewhat of a guide to a lot of other young women in this world. And it's my duty to share as much as I can the tips and tricks that I've learned along the way to help you guys live your best life. Because who would I be to sit up here and not, explain to you guys the struggles that I go through? I feel like in the past 3 months, I've had betrayal, the utmost betrayal happened to me. And I was watching this TikTok, and this pastor was saying that sometimes we fall victim to thinking that God is just making us lonely, that he's just removing all of our friends. But it's like he's doing it for you, because he realizes that these people aren't meant to go into your next chapter. And I know sometimes when we're reading a book or we're watching a television series and we're like, well, why did this character have to go? Like, why did there have to be conflict between these people? But then later on down the line, we eventually end up forgetting about the person. And it really served no serious detriment to the plot or the protagonist or the main character of the television series. So just know that God is writing a story that is for your good. He does not write out characters or write people in to hurt you or harm you or do detriment to you in the long run. Right now, it may feel like you are being tried by fire. It may feel like you are being sliced and diced up slowly by every butcher in the world. But just know that there is purpose in your pain, and that on the other side of all of the trials that you are enduring, there is going to be perseverance. And I'm going to share with you guys a scripture that I found that is going to be a source of peace for myself and hopefully for you as well. This is 1 James verses 2-4. Consider it pure joy, y'all, please bear with me. My brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance, let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. And I just want y'all to understand what he just said, okay? You are going to endure trials. You are going to endure troubles. And it is to mature your faith. It is to mature your spirit, your mind, your body, your heart, your posture. So many different things that you may not understand right now. It is for that sole purpose for you in the future. You don't know what the future you needs, but he does, because it's already written. And so you just have to trust that whatever it is that you're going through right now doesn't even compare to the joy that you are going to experience in the future. And you just have to take it one day at a time. Because when you're close to unearthing something that is powerful within yourself, sometimes it can feel like it's the end of the world because everything around you is just crumbling. And you're just like, God, why? Like literally a week ago, I was fine. I was able to go to do this and be around these people and hang around and at all types of hours of the night and indulge in this and watch this type of stuff. And now I can't. But it's never going to be easy to walk in life as a person with purpose. It's never meant to be easy because there's going to be a lot of things that come your way to discount you or discredit you or remind you that you are not who he said you are. And that's called spiritual warfare. And you have to have discernment to know that God would never send anything to really destroy you. So consider the source. When it's all types of craziness going on. And God will make you endure troubles and tribulations because he wants to make sure that you're ready for the next level. But it's all about how you control your climate, control your spirit, and control your reactions as you are going through these things. And I truly believe that I am blessed and that I have favor because I continue to move with grace. I know I'm close to unearthing something that is bold and just relentless within me because I have endured the most pain I've ever endured in this past 3 months. Really this past month. October was a doozy. And I still came out on top. I still smile. I still have joy in my heart. I still show up. I still work. And I'm still graceful and gracious to even the people who hurt me. Because I realize at the end of the day that hurt people hurt people. Hating people ain't happy, and happy people ain't hating. And those are two things that I will continuously remind myself of as I walk through this life. If I want to be a person that lives with bold and blind faith, if I want to be a person that moves and walks in my path of purpose and light, I am going to shake the table from time to time. I am going to rub people the wrong way. I am going to make some people dislike me. I am going to make people uncomfortable. But it is up to me to decide, do I want to be uncomfortable or do I want to be bold and courageous enough to be disliked? And something that I think a lot of you should read before the onset of the new year, because if we are going to be, the writing assistants, not the writers of our life, but the writing assistants to God of our lives, and we give him, the outline and, the goals of what we want for this next chapter of our life so he can sign off on it, then you need to, do some pre-writing. You need to go to your writer's room, go to your board of directors and talk about what you want to see for this next season of your life and maybe pick up some new self-help books, maybe start listening to a few new podcasts and start rearranging how you're hanging out with certain people and, just figure out certain things because you're really close. And it's when you're down to the wire and you've only got about 30 more seconds on the clock that it really shows the type of practice and prayer and faith that you have that's going to get you the result that you want. And so this book is actually available on Spotify. So for all of my Spotify subscribers, you actually can listen to this book. It is called The Courage to Be Disliked. And I started listening to it earlier today. And I can truly say that just by listening to the first couple of chapters, I'm already feeling different. My mind, my brain chemistry has been altered. The first chapter is called The Unknown Third Giant. The second chapter is called Why People Can Change. The third chapter is called Trauma Does Not Exist. And the fourth chapter is People Fabricate Anger. Now, each of these chapters really only take about 4 to 5 minutes to listen to. So I really do encourage you to listen to these daily as you're going through this period of trying to unearth something that is bold and daring within you. Because I think to be a woman of faith is to be bold. To be a woman of faith is to be courageous and to be brave, because it takes a lot of confidence to go out there and say, yes, I'm a child of God and I want to be the light of this world and the salt of this earth. That takes a lot of courage and boldness. And it's going to take a lot of conversations in your alone time with God to remember and be reminded of who you are and whose you are. Because every day you walk out into this world, somebody's going to try you and try to remind you why you're not the things that you say that you are. And instead of having a posture of trying to prove everybody right and or wrong, you should just have a posture of being who you are. It's going to rub some people wrong. It's going to rub some people right. But you are not meant to go out into this world and please everybody. Our goal is to please God. And I think the closer and closer and closer I get to being obedient to God and listening to the things that He's saying to me, the more I go through life with ease. I'm no longer trying to fight what He said for me to do. I'm no longer trying to fight what is written in the Word. Like, I think so often for so many years, especially with me being in college and me being young and impressionable, I often would look to my peers, not as the standard, but as a way to say, okay, well, so-and-so is doing it, and so is all right, so I can do it, but just not to that extent. And I was just watching this woman's TikTok earlier today, and she was talking about denouncing from a Divine Nine organization. And I'm not even going to get into that on here, but she was saying that a lot of Christians were in her comments asking her like, oh, well, like, why, or what do you think about pastors who are in Divine Nine organizations? And her simple explanation was, something that God has been getting on me about is not using people in the flesh as the standard. The Word is the standard. And He says in the Word that as Christians and just as humans, we are going to fall short. We are going to sin. We are going to not be perfect. And so you can really not look to any person as the blueprint of how you are supposed to be walking within this life. And when you're close, you can't look around to everybody else and seeing what they're doing as the blueprint for what God has designed for your life. That is all I wanted to make with that statement and that point, is that you need to have tunnel vision at this point. Because if you start listening to the naysayers and people saying, oh, you've been working at this for so long and you ain't made nothing of it yet, like maybe it's time to focus on something else. That is just a distraction. Keep going. If you feel like you failed the first 2 times, that doesn't mean you're going to fail the 3rd time. I failed a class once, and I knew the 2nd time, I knew in my heart I was going to pass, because I learned a lot from the first time I took the class, and I knew what I needed not to do, and I started picking up habits so that I could be successful. And now as a senior, I have literally all A's and B's right now, and I can't say I've had that in a long time. Being a business student at Ohio State is not easy. There are lots of quantitative courses, and your examinations are nearly like 50 to 70% of your grade. So even if you do all of your homework, you participate in class and you come, if you do not understand not just key terms and being able to regurgitate memorization, but truly being able to show that you have an understanding of the key concepts, then you are not going to get no more than a C in the class. So just seeing that from an experience of what I thought was failure really amounted to me being victorious should show you that even though right now it's 30 seconds to the clock and you're down 7 points, doesn't mean that you can't get those 7 points in 30 seconds. God knows your deadlines. And all you have to do is pray and ask him for the wisdom, for the strength, for whatever it is that you need to get to that finish line, and he will give it to you. So for those of us who are close, all we need to do is start praying. All we need to do is fast. All we need to do is get into the word and start to recalibrate ourselves as we embark on getting into this new year of 2024, of really just listening and paying attention to how our body feels and how our mind feels and how we are attributing, certain feelings and emotions to certain experiences. Because what was so surprising to me in this book about the courage to be disliked, in the chapter entitled Trauma Does Not Exist, which I do not agree nor disagree with that. I really, truly do not know. I am not a mental health professional. But he says that for those of us who experience trauma or traumatic things, it is up to us to define what that event is for us. So if you define that event as the turning point that makes you go into a shell, then that is exactly what it will be. But if you choose to define it as something else, then it is not that. Do you get what I'm saying? So like for me, this instance and all these things that happened to me in October and early November could have been the turning point for me to become, a very anxious woman, a woman who is afraid to go outside and like hang out with people and afraid to get close to people. I'm afraid to make friends and so many different things. I could have turned my experiences into a point of view on the world that I am not meant to have community. But I am instead choosing to have the perspective that just was not my community, and that God is shifting me and he is going to place me into a new community that is in more in alignment with where I am supposed to be going. When you shift your perspective for the experience and attribute positive things to it, I feel like you get to go through life with a more lightness, and you're floating instead of just like dragging yourself through the day to day. Because so many of us experience really bad things. They're tough, but it's not meant to destroy you. I know people's intentions may be to destroy you, but they cannot destroy you. Why would you ever give someone the power to destroy you or to diminish your character? That is giving them way too much power. Never give your power away. Take your power back. And the way you take your power back is honestly just by making sure to stay within your word, making sure that you are building a board of directors and advisors to you that can speak life not only into you but over you. And just having blind faith is really what's going to give you your power back, because it takes a lot of courage to go out into this world and say, I am who I am, and I know I am who I am. And there are going to be a lot of people who are going to try you on the daily to make you feel like you're not that girl. But I'm here to tell you, you are that girl, and you are so close to unearthing something that is just powerful. And that is an accomplishment in and of itself. So I want you to put on your running shoes. I want you to start making more big strides towards your goals and your dreams before we get into this next chapter, which is going to be 2024, and whatever age that is for you. Just start doing the pre-writing, going into your prayer closet and sitting with, your desires and your wants and your needs, and asking God how he can fill in the gaps and figure out the ways in which the part that you need to play to make it happen. Because God is the writer, but at the end of the day, we are the actor. We have free will and choices and everything else to go out and act out the way we want to. And if you don't do what's written, obviously it's going to shift the narrative and things are going to happen, and that may not be what he planned. So you can't be mad at anybody else but yourself. So just make sure that you sit with yourself and you decide, what do I want? And once you decide that, start writing it down, making your vision clear, do your vision journaling daily, and everything will start to fall into place, and you won't be close. You'll be there. You will have arrived to the occasion, and you will feel so magnificent, and then you'll start the process all over again. But that's what perseverance is all about. That is what it is all about on the day-to-day. And so I just want to leave you guys off with one more scripture, and that is Romans 12:12. And it is, be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. As you are really close to your destiny, really close to your purpose, just know that you have to be joyful and you have to remain patient and faithful in prayer. And that's how you increase your stamina and your endurance to get to the finish line. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. It's very casual today, no visuals. I'm literally just in my bedroom, in my quiet and safe space, sharing these words of wisdom with you all that is encouraging not only you, but myself, because I think timeliness and a lot of my experiences, I realize, are what you guys are experiencing too. So, hey, we're all in this together. If you're not following me on Instagram, make sure to do so. I'm at rikkilee.co. I share stuff on there all the time. If you're not following the podcast is a community where all of us are sharing our tips and tricks on how to live our best life, to live that life. And that is That Girl Radio on Instagram. There's tons of gems and clips and whatever else you want to see. And then also make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rikki Lee. I share all things on how to live that life and my walk in faith and my walk in my purpose as being a, college student that is an entrepreneur and a woman of faith. And it's rough. It's not easy. It's not easy to be called, but you got to show up. So I love y'all, and I will catch you next week.